Hey, everybody, it's Julie Roginsky here with Olga Lautman. We're back. Olga, it's been a month. It's been forever. Both of us have been traveling, busy, but now we're back. Hey, everybody, it's really good to see you all here. Yes, I know in the chat I screwed up the time for this to start. It is always 11 a.m. Eastern on Thursdays. I think I said something else, so I'm sorry. But anyway, here we are, and we're streaming, and it's all good. Olga, you had an investigation yesterday about ICE that I think is just fascinating. Tell me what's going on.
Well, first, it is so good to be back. I can't believe that we're already approaching March, and literally, I feel like we haven't seen each other forever. So my friend Andre from Ukraine and I, we did an investigation based off an investigation, actually, that came out from Svoboda that was looking at something completely else. And basically, it is so bonkers. What the investigation showed is that there is an American company called Oxygen that was opened as a sister company to its Russian company. And this company has contracts nonetheless since 2016. This country has contracts with the Department of State, Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, pretty much every single agency. And right now they have a contract with ICE. Now, what this company does is they take a phone, including an iPhone, and they can basically extract everything from the phone, whether it's deleted, everything. I mean, whatever you ever did on your phone, they can extract it. Now, it shares the same software. There's a company, Mobile Forensics, in Russia that Russia's security services use at the border, which uses the same Oxygen software. So when Russians that fled after the full-scale invasion are returning back, they have to surrender their phone. And basically the same exact technology, it extracts everything, whether deleted or not, from the phone, and then it catalogs it. That way you can make it easy to search based on whatever it is that security services are searching. So now, through in 2024 in September, this company Oxygen signed a contract through, I believe, 2027. So right now they have a contract with ICE. And the last thing that's even more wild, considering everything, is that one of the investors in the company is well, I'm not going to say former and insult people, but he is a FSB officer who was part of the elite unit Vimpel, which is known for sabotage operations across Europe, inside of Russia, assassinations and whatever. He is the father-in-law of this guy, Maxim Yakubits, who was a hacker that the FBI put a $5 million bounty on a few years ago in 2019. So he is sanctioned, Maxim Yakubits is sanctioned, and here you have him as an investor in this Oxygen company. So, I mean, the whole thing is absolutely wild, and basically right now, ICE is, the bottom line, ICE is using Russia's technology to exfiltrate all the data from your phone.
I mean, I don't understand why this isn't like leading the front page of the New York Times. This is incredible reporting on your part, an investigation on your part. And like, the question that I have is, once Oxygen has the information on all of our phones, does that somehow end up in Russian hands? What do you think?
Absolutely. And I mean, the thing is, I have two things to worry about. One is the fact that we have ICE using these array of tools. And for over a year, I've been warning about, the growing surveillance state that we have with ICE and other border patrol. and other federal agencies who literally are using, these um, tools to basically track us, follow us. They can do whatever they want. They're doing border searches. That was my first actually thing because you remember last month, I believe it was Rubio who announced that they were going to do border searches for anyone coming in to visit. And the first thing I'm thinking is, wow, this Oxygen app can be used on every single visitor, and then absolutely it can go back to Russia. I mean, this is identical to what was happening with Kaspersky Lab, when you had the federal government and, I mean, all the American people, which I never understood, have that shoved down their throat. I mean, every time you went to any electronic store to buy a computer, they were like, here's 1 month free of Kaspersky, and then all to find out that there was a backdoor for Russia's security services and that they can basically go in and access information at any time. And here we have the same thing. So who knows? I mean, absolutely, I do think that this can easily go back to Russia. Maybe it automatically goes back to Russia. We don't know.
What's fascinating to me about all of this with ICE is that Americans have been led to believe that this is just about undocumented migrants, that it's not about, anything else. Let's be very clear. It's not about that. It's about all of us. This is a secret police, not so secret, I guess, that's been funded by our taxpayer dollars in the big, beautiful bill. It has been funded for the next, I believe, 6 years, 7 years, right, Olga? It's the funding, even if you shut down, the Democrats right now are shutting down the Department of Homeland Security. That's not going to defund ICE.
Nope.
It defunds other things, but it does not defund ICE because that's how the big, beautiful bill was written. And so I think what is so terrifying about this is that this militia, which is what it is, that is effectively a white nationalist front for all of the disaffected people that could not join a real police department. You have videos of people, of investigative reporters joining ICE that are told you have to, do a background check and you need to get a drug test and all this other stuff. Does not happen. They just take you. Your training is 47 days. Why 47? Because Trump is the 47th president. I mean, and then from there, you can just take a gun and go patrol and go hunt for whoever you want to hunt for. Local police cannot stop you. They supersede because obviously the federal government supersedes local governments so that they can take you, they can take your phone, they can do whatever they want, and nobody can stop them. Nobody. And you have a Supreme Court that on a shadow docket, it's called the Kavanaugh rule, but basically said that no, you can't profile somebody based on their race, but you can profile them based on other factors that make them appear to be undocumented migrants. That's in the eye of the beholder. I could be pulled over. Olga could be pulled over. Anybody on this chat could be pulled over, whether you're an American citizen or not. They can take your phone, and then guess who has it? ICE has it, and for all I know, the Russians now have it.
Yeah, the whole thing is incredible, and you're 100% correct. I mean, I'm sure you remember when Putin, came into power and how he came into power and how, him and Patrushev basically organized the blowing up of buildings, killing over 300 Russians in order to get into power. And then they blamed the Chechens. Meanwhile, it was Russia's security services who did this. And demonized at the time all Muslims in Russia. And, for people who will probably be very surprised with everything, all the operations that Russia runs of nationalism in Europe and in United States and in Canada. Russia itself has 35, 37 million Muslims. And at the time after Putin came into power, you had basically the same exact thing happening where they were testing how far they can expand, their powers on more vulnerable groups. And at the time it was Chechens and other Muslim groups. This is the same thing. Immigrants are a test case. They've always been a test case. So we're international students. You remember stripping them of call it green cards and various visas. These are all test cases to see how far they can go before it expands to all of us. Then it's now, as I think it was, 9 months ago, we sat here talking about they're going to go after naturalized citizens, which is you and I.
They're doing it. They're doing
it. And now they have a quota, 1 to 200 naturalized citizens that they have to denaturalize per month. And that's it. So now the next case is the naturalized citizens, and then they'll continue until it's all Americans. And we're seeing it, whether it be with what happens with comedians, whether it, various avenues, we're seeing this take place, and how what they're testing on immigrants is coming now against all Americans.
And denaturalized citizens, they're going to say, based on speech that they consider to be un-American, that of course is illegal, and the courts should be stopping them. But of course, courts move very slowly, and this administration moves very quickly. And I don't know, where am I being deported to? Back to Russia, where the minute I land there, I'm going to be in a gulag because I'm banned from going to Russia? Like, am I going to be hanging out at Delaney Hall in Newark with all the other undocumented migrants, waiting for my case to be adjudicated? Like, we don't know. We don't know. Yeah. And, that's something that's really critical here.
And it's something we've seen before. Sorry to cut you off, but this is something, it's very old playbook. Trump isn't reinventing the wheel. He is doing exactly what Russia did and every other dictator. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's deeply concerning. Olga and we're not going to stop speaking up. I'm not scared. Olga, you're not scared. But all the signs are there that we should be scared. We've just come from a totalitarian country, so we've seen worse. And we are going to fight tooth and nail to prevent the country that we love from becoming the place that we came from. But let's be very clear about what they're trying to do here. Like, you denaturalize citizens if you lie on your application form as to how you become a citizen, right? Both you and I became citizens through our parents. Neither of them lied about how they came here. It won't matter. It won't matter. Like, you denaturalize people who came here who were Nazis or SS officers guarding, a concentration camp. And then they said, no, we didn't have anything to do with that. And then you find out 80 years later that they did, and they get denaturalized and sent back to Germany or wherever they came from. Like, that's okay. But this is going to be based on just speech. That's where they're going with this. Right?
100%. And, luckily, I will say that they're a very stupid group of people. And not that Putin is smarter. Putin is beyond stupid, but Putin does have the advantage that he had a system set up for him that he stepped into for centuries. Again, nothing that the Soviets invented. This goes back for centuries. This is the same repressive system, whether you look at the, security services under the Tsar or the KGB or now the FSB. So here, luckily, they're, not smart at all. And I am very, very proud of Americans. I was very worried last year, but after Minneapolis and seeing, what happened and seeing the federal agents murder 2 Americans, I am very proud that Americans it had the opposite effect. Instead of scaring people back into their houses, they were like, no, fuck no, you are not killing our people in the streets. And, once there is, no fear from the people, it's very, very hard for dictatorships to take root, especially if there's no system in place. So I think we'll be fine as far as that. I just think, we still have ways to go. We're still going to see the worst of the worst. We're going to, I'm dreading even, I'd like to fast forward past elections because I could just picture, tanks rolling through polling places, seizing ballots. But I don't think that the people will be intimidated. So that gives me a lot of hope. And these people are not smart. I mean, you're dealing with Nome, who has so much injections and surgery that at this point she's like a blow up doll. And you see her making one mistake after another. And the more desperate they're going to get, the more mistakes they're going to make. So this, I think, gives us some kind of hope.
Yeah, I mean, listen, she sticks around only as long as Corey Lewandowski and Trump have a good relationship, right? I don't think she's going to be sticking around past the midterms if they go the way we think they're going to go. I think Trump would have gotten rid of her by now, except the Democrats have been trying so hard to get rid of her that he doesn't want to give the Democrats the satisfaction. So fine. I mean, that's his prerogative, and I'm fixing my mic. That's his prerogative, and God bless. But it's not like when she goes, somebody more humane is going to come along. And what I love is that they're talking about Tom Homan being the more humane option because Homan used to work with Democrats. He served in the Obama administration, yada, yada. Like, Tom Homan is a monster. And I wish the press would stop buying into this nonsense of, well, he's better because he served under Democrats also. Like, he was a bureaucrat under the Democrats. This guy is a monster. This guy, in some cases, is worse than Noam because he's actually more competent. And they hate each other because while she's running around doing stupid press conferences, he's actually out there doing the work. And he wants to be recognized for it. And she doesn't want him to be recognized for it, and that's why they hate each other. But the reality is he is doing the work, and it's not good work. It's effective work, but it is not good work. So for anybody who thinks that as soon as Noam is gone, things are suddenly going to get better, Trump's entire belief system is based on xenophobia and racism. Going back to when he was a young developer, and again, got sued by the Justice Department for not wanting, he and his father, for not renting to Black people. This goes back to the 1970s. You have contestant after contestant and people who worked on his reality show saying that he dropped the N-word like crackers. Like it was just, like peanuts. And, he's not going to change. And the entire Republican Party has basically been remade in his image. And if you look at, David French had a wonderful column, Olga, in the New York Times today. If you look at who Trump won, he won white evangelicals by a massive margin. He lost everybody else. That's who powered him to victory. These are not people known for being accepting of others. Whatever Jesus said about welcoming the stranger is something that was clearly lost on that cohort. So there you go. There you go. You have the State of the Union coming up next week. God knows what he's going to say in that. I mean, the whole thing is just absurd. It's absurd.
And it's sad because, you know what, our show is called Pox Americana, which, existed until, I would say, the end of last year. And you just saw the results of this. I mean, literally, you had Rubio, who just came back from Europe. You had the Munich Security Conference. Every single European country is, staring at us like in disbelief. And at the same time, with this, very cold realization that, that's it. The U.S. that they knew was over. This transatlantic alliance that lasted 70 plus years is over. They're all, on their own. Very distrustful of the U.S. I'm not sure, I don't like to repeat things, and I didn't fact check except to say it came from an OSINT account that I normally trust. But, that account reported that the British are refusing us to use 2 air bases because they don't think that Trump's, war that he's about to plunge America in with Iran is legal under international law. You have the Polish and several other countries talking about nuclear weapons, which frankly, I mean, if I'm any country on this earth, I would be grabbing for nuclear weapons and developing a program, because this is the only way you could keep safe. And, case in point, you had the U.S. who sold a large arms package to Taiwan, and yesterday it came out that China made a call to Trump, complained about it, and now Congress has not heard anything further about this package. So basically, you have Taiwan being thrown under the bus, us disarming Taiwan. This is after the U.S. betrayed Ukraine, and literally, I've never seen it. It's frankly a very despicable spectacle on the part of the United States, like government. I wish I could say Trump, but unfortunately, you have Congress responsible for this and the Republican Party, minus a handful of people. But I mean, the fact that they tried to do everything to force Ukraine to surrender, everything. I mean, threats, and I mean, short of threatening to send American troops into Ukraine to, assist Russia to seize territory. The U.S. tried everything, and and all for what? Business deals. So Kushner and Witkoff can have business deals. Mm-hmm. So I mean, this is now a country that I mean, you saw what is happening in Ukraine every single day. The Russians targeting every single power plant, shutting off heat in sub-zero degrees, shutting off power, shutting off water. And then you saw Rubio go and endorse Orban, and Orban announced that they're going to shut off diesel fuel to Ukraine along with Slovakia. This is with the blessing of the United States. And I mean, here you have two countries that the U.S. is supporting who are trying to put the final, nail in the coffin for Ukraine. Luckily, it's not going to work because we're close to March, and, at least it's going to get warmer, and Ukrainians have suffered through the worst of the winter. But I mean, it's despicable. And you have the silence, from the majority of the government. You have people taking orders that are illegal. We don't even know what information was passed on to Russia when Trump stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine last year, and when Russia suddenly had, received intelligence and was able to run a successful operation against Ukraine, which they couldn't for over a year. So, the whole world sees this. And let's not forget that Ukraine gave up nuclear weapons, at the urgence of Bill Clinton. And this is what they got in return, a few decades later, 3 decades later, a U.S. president trying to basically force them to surrender 20% of their country. And so you have Europe, obviously, with the realization. You had a report that came out that Wagner, Prigozhin's so-called baby, which is actually a shadow unit of Russia's military intelligence, that they are recruiting disposable assets across Europe to blow up all the railways and everything we're seeing happen, the sabotage operations and everything. And U.S. is nowhere to be found. And frankly, you can't even trust the U.S. right now because you don't even know what information will go to, Russia. We haven't even spoken, but clearly, there's a big scandal brewing. I can't wait to hear more details involving Kushner, with 2 foreign intelligence agencies being intercepted discussing something about him and Iran that clearly was not good. That, whistleblower tried to get to Congress and was blocked since last May, and now has hired a lawyer. So, I mean, and then the person who covered for all of this was Tulsi Gabbard, who is another Russian asset. So, I mean, we're not in good shape. And then get back to your point, by his State of the Union address, we might, be in World War III as Trump fear-mongered. So
yeah, I mean, look, you and I have not spoken crazily. You have not, and I have not spoken since Davos, but we named the show Pox Americana for a reason. And I would venture to say that if you want to know when the Pox Americana ended, it was at Davos this year. I think Davos is a bunch of horrible, pretentious blowhards, but nevertheless, the world leaders all assembled at Davos, including Donald Trump, where he put the final nail in the coffin of the Pox Americana. Friends, it took a year. A year. And that's not a long time. And if you want to make some uncomfortable parallels, look at 1933 Germany and see what they were able to do by 1934. So, you know, it is just astonishing to me, that everything that Vladimir Putin and prior to him, Soviet leaders were not able to do in 100 years militarily was accomplished by one man in 1 year from within. Europe now is having a debate as to whether Germany goes under France's umbrella, nuclear umbrella. And there's a whole discussion about, well, is it worth, to blow up Paris to save Berlin? Like, these are discussions that are being had right now because there's no more American nuclear deterrence. Now, you may argue that the Europeans did not spend what they should have spent on their own defense over all these years. I actually agree with that. I think it's unfair to have made us carry so much of it all these years while they had, nice social programs it didn't want to cut into. I don't blame them. I mean, it was a good deal for them. So I'm all for them spending more money on it. But that should have been done in conjunction with the American nuclear umbrella protecting them in the meantime. Instead, we just ripped the Band-Aid off. And it's just incomprehensible to me as to what's happening right now. It's just amazing. I mean, we are talking about, you and I have talked about this before. We are in World War III already, in that Ukraine was the first big front of that war. We are about to be dragged into something in Iran. I mean, that's happening right now while the New York Times is having wall-to-wall coverage of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's arrest. We're about to go to war with Iran. Why? Why not? Why not? Because Bibi Netanyahu wants us to. Why not? And I'll tell you something. As somebody who happened to be in Israel, as you all remember, Olga, you certainly remember, during the last war with Iran, between Israel and Iran, and had to live in shelters for the entire time that was happening while ballistic missiles were raining down on me. That's going to be a garden party compared to what is about to happen. You have Sean Hannity warning the Iranian mullahs to go to Russia now before it's too late. He's not doing that because Sean Hannity came up with it. He's doing it because he spoke to Trump and delivering a message. And the question here is, we're having another regime change war in the Middle East? Like, what's going on here?
Your guess is as good as mine, because I have to say I have never, living in this country my whole life, seen anything like it. Because normally, if the United States is going to war, it's in response to something. Normally, you have the president and the cabinet members out addressing Americans.
Congress needs to have a say in this constitutionally. Congress is doing nothing.
They're on vacation. I mean, and God bless our Ro Khanna, and I'm not a fan of Massey, but except with the Epstein, at least he followed through. But they have a war resolution thing that they want to put on the floor for next week. I'm like, dude, you're going to be a drop too late. How about cutting like vacation short a little bit and coming back? I mean, no one is telling us why. Today, part of me is kind of look, I have no love for the Iranian regime. They're responsible for the massacre of Ukrainians with the Shahed drones and everything that they've done to assist Russia. And frankly, that regime can burn in hell. At the same time, I was sitting today and thinking, can you imagine if Ukrainians ever asked the United States to put boots on the ground, to bring aircraft carriers, to pour in so many resources to go to war with Russia? Can you imagine what would happen with the American people? I would be outraged. I would, I was grateful and kept pushing for weapons to be given to Ukraine. But I would never expect Americans to go and put boots on the ground to fight Russians for Ukraine. And the fact here that, you have Israel who really did that. They want, to take the Iranian regime out. And I don't see any other explanation as to why we are going to war with Iran. So my only assumption is because Netanyahu asked us to.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of.
And why? Because Jared probably, Netanyahu and the Saudis, again, we're doing other people's work for them. The Saudis have now had us go to war on their behalf in 1991, in 2003, and again now.
And they repaid us by blowing up our Twin Towers. So, they had us go to war in 1991 and then repaid us in 2001 by attacking the Pentagon and the Twin Towers. And it's already been made very clear with intelligence that they knew about the attack that was being planned in the United States and had a lot of details. So I don't know. For a change, I think the only interesting thing that is happening is that there's this weird realignment between, the left versus the right, with the American people versus the elite. And it is very interesting to see because someone put America first. And really, every time I go on Twitter, I see Marjorie Taylor Greene and other, MAGA influencers who are like, why are we going to war? And we're on the same page. Like, why is America going to war? We're like, our, debt is through the roof. We are, not stable here. You have Americans who can't even afford to pay their electric and gas bill and rent. And we're going to another endless war. So it's interesting. Whatever it is, that will be a quite interesting State of the Union.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to do this before the State of the Union. Probably. He's desperately trying to change the subject. From ICE, from all of this, right? He sees the polls. He's desperately trying to change the subject. And he thinks that we're all going to rally around the flag and we're all going to say, oh my God, we have what, but we've tried that before. This whole weapons of mass destruction bullshit. We've tried that before. And I'm not suggesting the Iranians don't have a nuclear program. They do. But if you're talking about regime change, you're talking about moving American personnel and American aircraft carriers and probably more, I don't even know who else, to the Persian Gulf or wherever else they're moving them right now. I will simply say to you that Iran is 2 or 3 times larger than Iraq. Good luck subduing it. Because the one thing that's going to rally the Iranian people around their awful regime is the Israelis coming in with the United States.
And that weird shot that they dug up out of nowhere. I haven't seen this guy in decades, and suddenly I see him being pitched everywhere. I'm like, oh,
the reason it's so easy to overthrow the Shah of Iran is because he was hated. This isn't some guy who was popularly elected. Don't forget that he was put in there to replace the guy that we overthrew in the 1950s. Like, that's all that's happening here. It's not like Reza Pahlavi, the Shah, was like some, greeted with roses when he became the Shah. He was also completely fucked up. And let me tell you something. I think I've told this story before, maybe not on this show. Back in 1997, 6, sometime a long time ago, I was in London visiting a friend, and she invited me to a party. And the party happened to be hosted by the girlfriend of the son of the Shah of Iran, or maybe it was the grandson of the Shah of Iran. So it was at his house in Knightsbridge. And it was a weirdo party with a bunch of weirdo British kind of social light people. And his Shah of Iran's grandson's girlfriend, who did her best Marilyn Monroe / Gwen Stefani thing. This guy was such a weirdo that he did not talk to anybody. He sat in some room downstairs and played video games the whole night while this party was happening around him. These are not well-adjusted people, friends. I don't know if that's who they're talking about putting in or somebody else, but that guy was not well-adjusted, and he's about my age. So I don't know if that's who they're talking about, or they're talking about his dad, or I don't know what they're dealing with. So, I mean, like, sometimes I end up, we have this joke, Michelle Kinney and I, about how I'm Timu Gump. I end up in these weird situations where you're like Forrest Gump, but like the Timu version. This was a very Timu Gump story. But every time I think about them trying to reinstall the Shah of Iran, I think about that guy, and I'm like, well, Shah of Iran is dead. I don't know if his son is dead. This is the grandson. Is that who they're talking about? Because none of this makes sense.
Nothing. No, I am telling you, I follow Iran enough. I'm not an expert on Iran. I don't know a lot about Iran. I only know anything that has to do with Russia, because I've monitored Iran and Russia, for decades. And I've never, ever, ever seen this Shah being like, advertised until last year. And then out of nowhere, they plucked them out. And he's like, yes, my people are coming. I'm like, who is coming? Who are you? Where did you come from? Like, really? And nonetheless, he was apparently living in Israel, or I don't even know what the story is.
Well, no, this guy
he is. Yeah, or maybe he spends a lot of time in Israel, so I don't understand. Oh. All I know is that the whole thing doesn't make sense. And look, again, as someone, who works on geopolitical issues, bye-bye Iran. I mean, honestly, bye-bye Iran. No one's gonna, miss this regime. And Russia right now is having a panic attack. I mean, if you look at the front pages of any of their websites, state news, they're really like they're worried. Because they already had one client fall in Venezuela. Now they have Iran. Cuba's on the way out, and that's like an old client state from Soviet days. So they're very worried. And so on that point, I am beyond happy and thrilled. Over the past few years, I watched how weapons were being moved from Iran through the Caspian Sea, through Syria, making its way to Russia, doing everything to try to alert people to disrupt these weapon shipments that were, going through to Russia and then falling on Ukrainian cities. So Iran, what they have done, I mean, they deserve this and more. As an American, I don't want Americans to die for this. I don't understand why we're dying. Iran has not attacked the United States. Iran is not an imminent danger to the United States. And there is absolutely no way to have a successful regime change in Iran without American lives. And there is no need for it. We cannot, I mean, if we want to start with regime change, why don't we go to Russia then? They're the kingpin holding all these regimes together. And, the fact that American blood will be spilled, and God knows what we're getting ourselves into, because it's very easy to bomb everything into smithereens. I mean, I remember, I'm old enough to remember Iraq sitting glued as tanks are rolling, and it's like, okay, mission accomplished, and we're like, wow, Yeah, and then came the next 20 plus years where finally we're, I think, getting out of Iraq and basically sacrificed a lot of lives and a lot of American money for nothing. I mean, we really, really achieved absolutely nothing in Iraq and Afghanistan for that matter. I mean, we should have, we needed to do something in Afghanistan at the time after 9/11, or maybe we didn't need to do anything, maybe we could have had surgical strikes. But um, the fact is that Iran, it's easy. Yes, we can blow everything to smithereens, but what will happen after? And the same thing goes for Venezuela. Yes, it was very easy. Our military is the best in the world. They, went in, plucked out Maduro and his wife from their bed, flew them into New York. Wonderful. So right now we have a puppet regime that's answering to Trump and, basically handed over the keys to Venezuela. It's the same regime, the same cruel regime that has arrested protesters, that has banned any kind of legitimate elections. I mean, nothing has changed. And okay, maybe they'll behave until 2028. But what if we do get rid of Trump by 2029? Then what? Is that regime really going to remain a puppet, puppet state of the United States?
I don't know. I mean, as long as I guess we tell the leader there that if she doesn't, we're going to do to her what we did to her predecessor. But I mean, look at what we're talking about here, right? Like talking about Delcy Rodriguez, but like, look at what we're talking about here. Is this really what we're doing? We're installing puppet regimes that are going to be there oppressing their own people because the United States decided that's what it's going to be, purely so that one of Trump's donors can get control of Citgo, which the courts have been blocking him from getting. I mean, that's what this is about, by the way, friends. Same thing. I mean, are we about to go to war with Iran because Saudi Arabia put $2 billion with a B dollars into Jared Kushner's fund, despite the fact that he had no interest or no experience whatsoever running a fund before? I mean, look at what we're talking about here. There's bribery happening in open air. You have the Trump boys doing an interview yesterday with CNBC or a couple of days ago talking about how there's no conflicts of interest. They're tired of being accused of conflicts of interest. They tried to abide by that during the first term, and now they don't care anymore. Who knows who's putting money into their pocket? Who knows who's putting money into World Liberty Lenders, whatever that place is called? Liberty Financial.
It sounds like some kind of a Ponzi scheme.
It's a crypto fund run by Steve Witkoff's kid that was founded by Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump, who no longer have any authority over it. I mean, come on. The biggest scandal hiding in plain sight right now is the fact that you had two foreign nationals caught on tape by the NSA talking about Jared Kushner and Iran. And it was so problematic that Tulsi Gabbard ran to Susie Wiles in the White House, according to a whistleblower, told her about it. And the next day, the entire complaint was filed under lock and key in a filing cabinet in her office with nobody having access to it and Congress not being aware of it. That's happening right now. Right now. Why would the Saudis want the U.S. at war with Iran? Somebody asked in the chat. Because they hate Iran. It is their mortal enemy. And if we could get rid of the Iranian regime for them, that would be great. It goes back to the 6th century where the Sunni and the Shia had big problems. They continue to have big problems to this day over who the rightful heir is to the Prophet Muhammad. Iran is a Shia country and Saudi is a Sunni country. I mean, like, this is what we're talking about here. And these problems have continued and metastasized for 1,500 years and yada, yada, yada. Here we are.
And again, it is not our problem because with everything bad, yes, Iran has weapons. Yes, Russia has been supplying and helping build Iran's nuclear program. Same with North Korea. I mean, right now, over the past several years, Russia has sent scientists and nuclear components to help North Korea further its plant. Look, we're not going to war with North Korea. And here, I just don't understand any of this. And the only thing I will say, and I hate to, be the Debbie Downer here, but you have Trump who really gutted the FBI and Department of Homeland Security and frankly all our intelligence agencies. You have a lot of, even in the Middle East, a lot of people who are distrustful of American intelligence agencies because they don't trust, either information as leaked or they've seen, how intelligence has been weaponized, and they have their own sources and methods to protect. Iran, again, is not like Venezuela and is not like Iraq. Iran has agents all across the world. They have sleeper agents in the United States. They have agents across Europe that can be activated at any time. And, the fact that we have right now the most weakest Department of Homeland Security, who's focused on running around and grabbing any brown person, American or not, we'll figure out that later, and kidnapping babies and practically killing, 2-month-olds. The fact that this is what they're focused on and not focused on counterterrorism efforts. And I don't even know if we even have any counterterrorism units left, because they were all being dismantled first by Elon Musk, and then it just kept going on and on. And frankly, every agency that I've, with my tracker that I've been documenting, maybe there's a handful of counterterrorism experts left somewhere. I'm not sure. The fact that this is the situation domestically, I mean, God forbid. And again, maybe it's in Trump's favor to, have a series of domestic terrorist attacks, just like it was in Putin's favor to organize them to seize power before elections. But this is where we are. And this is a very dangerous thing, because I don't think anyone, not Congress, again, is on vacation. I feel like every time we have our show and there's some kind of a major, world event happening, Congress is on vacation. And here we're about on the eve, potentially, of launching a full-scale war against Iran, and Congress is not here. Yeah. But who is doing anything to make sure that Americans are going to be safe domestically? I mean, anyone home?
Well, and does he want an event to happen so that is a predicate for even going further in Iran? Possibly. I mean, I can't believe I'm asking the same question of our government here, but is it in this government's interest to have something bad happen so that that's a predicate for attacking Iran?
Absolutely. And again, like I said, we can attack Iran, we'll be successful, but what happens the day after, and why do we have to pay for this? With no clear plan, Congress on vacation. I mean, even though they, gave up their duties a while ago, but they're not even here. And here we are on the eve of, potential. I dread thinking, what will happen, because even if it looks like, oh, look, the regime fell, I can't tell you how bloody the IRGC is. I worked with the Syrians on what was happening, inside of Syria between IRGC teaming up with Russia. And believe it or not, our IRGC had joint military control centers.
Sorry to interrupt. The IRGC is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, just in case people don't know what Olga's talking about. Go ahead. Sorry.
Which is the whole system, by the way. And the Revolutionary Guard, they had joint control centers, command and control centers inside of Syria, in Iraq, and organized, basically kept Assad in power. But they were the ones with Russia and with Assad's forces who orchestrated the death of 700,000+ Syrians after the 2012 Syrian revolution, or Arab Spring. And I mean, the IRGC is such a well-oiled machine. Yes, they've been weakened. Yes, their proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas, and the Houthis have been weakened, but they are still a very well-oiled machine that really controls the regime. It's not, like plucking out the mullah is going to make a difference in the regime. Like if you're going to do a regime change, you actually have to take down the whole regime. And that includes the IRGC that has its own military, its own navy, its own security forces, its own intelligence gathering forces. Is this what we're doing? Are we going to go take them out as well? And again, it would be nice if someone would address anything to us, but Congress is on vacation. Trump is,
well, Trump is being wagged by Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's be very clear about what's happening here. This is something that the Israelis wanted us to do for a very long time. Israel rightly is obsessed with the fact that Iran poses a threat to them. Understood, it does. It's obviously been sending, it's been funding Hamas, it's been funding Hezbollah, it's been funding the Houthis who are sending missiles from the Red Sea. Like, yes, it is a massive existential threat to the state of Israel, 100%. But I think Netanyahu owes it to his people and also to us, since he's dragging us into this war, because a feeble-minded idiot president is listening to Jared, and Jared's, whatever, God knows, listening to the Saudis and to Bibi, to tell us what happens the day after you send the Ayatollah Khamenei to Russia or wherever you think you're going to send him, or just you kill him. Like, and then what? And then what? Let's say you get rid of him. Let's say you get rid of the president of Iran right now. And then what? Because as you said, Olga, these people govern at the behest of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And are we going to go in and murder them all? If so, whose soldiers? Which boots on the ground are going to do that? Are you going to murder all of their agents that are all over the world right now? Who are in this country as we speak? Maybe. And if so, let's hear about it. But that requires boots on the ground.
Well, and that would require seeing raids happening across the United States over the past few weeks of picking up their agents. I mean, you and I live in New York. It was only a few, and that's the one thing that people need to understand about the Iranian agents. Some of them are here personally, and a lot of them work with Russian mafia. Mm-hmm. And for instance, the Iranian dissident who lives right here in Brooklyn, they hired 2 Russian mafia thugs to go and try to assassinate her. And twice, not once, twice. And we had the trial that just, finished up recently. And it showed how often they use the Russian mafia to carry out their things on U.S. soil, which again, if the Russian mafia blows something up or assassinates someone, Trump is not going to war against Russia. He's going to say, well, this is a criminal element of, that they're not connected to the Russian government and yada, yada, yada. So, and then we're not talking about the economics of it. I mean, I honestly, frankly, for everyone, not to be an alarmist, if we do go fill up your car tanks, because if we do attack them, there could be a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, and economically, that's going to send everything through a wild ride, across the globe, and send prices up, and send oil up, and send everything up. So, this is where we are on the eve of his State of the Union address, and we still, I guess maybe we need to go listen to Sean Hannity to get a better understanding of why we're actually about to have Americans killed.
Sean Hannity's going to say the exact same thing that Sean Hannity said in the lead up to the Iraq war, which is, weapons of mass destruction, American lives at risk, and look at all the people they've killed and all that. All true. But is the juice worth the squeeze? I guess is the question.
But can someone even tell me, because Sean Hannity needs to answer the American people since he's the spokesperson for this regime apparently here. What weapons of mass destruction? Because Trump said we obliterated everything. Didn't he just in July?
Yeah, to prevent them from reconstituting it, we have to do it now. Like, it's all the same bullshit, you guys. It's the
But
same
in
stuff.
July, didn't he threaten to sue any media outlet who didn't report that the nuclear program was fully obliterated and that there's nothing there left, not even an ant, nothing, period, full stop, end of story. We took care of it. So what weapons of mass destruction 7 months later if we obliterated everything in the big beautiful strike in July?
Look, I think by the time we do the show in a few, I guess next Thursday, maybe we'll be at war with Iran. Who knows, you guys? I mean, this is how insane all of this is. And if we are, we'll hear about it at the State of the Union on Tuesday. And I predict to you that what you're going to hear is that we have to do this before they come for us. And there's weapons of mass destruction, and they pose a threat to Ukraine, and they pose a threat to Israel, and they pose a threat to our allies. And all of that is true. But the one thing you're not going to hear is what happens the day after. Our military can do this. Our military and Israel's military can take out the Ayatollahs. We can take out their entire leadership. We can do this militarily with respect to intelligence. Between us and Israel, no problem. And then what? And then what? Because I remember, and we're both old enough to remember when they dug Saddam Hussein out of that hole in the ground. And what happened then? I remember full well when we made the Taliban flee from Kabul. Guess who's back? Unless we put boots on the ground to make sure that they don't come back. So.
And no one in this country has an appetite to keep boots on the ground for 20 plus years again. I mean, what are we going to now go put boots on the ground until like 2050?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean.
Yep.
I don't know. In the meantime, Russia is still carrying on with its fuckery in Ukraine and across Europe, and we have that to deal with also. So World War III, here we come.
Here we come. Olga and I will be back right next Thursday, Olga. I think we're back.
Yes.
And we are going to get back on a normal schedule. And from there, we will see you guys later. Do you have any programming notes, Olga, for anything you're doing on Substack or anywhere else in the next day or two?
No. I actually kind of finally caught up, and I am getting back into the routine and rhythm of Substack and the show and everything. So just an investigation, check it out, because maybe call Congress if they come back. Please, I don't know.
Go to Olga. Is this I'm Asking Russia Substack or the other one?
This is on malign influence operations, because that's like strictly for investigations. Okay. Yeah, please call Congress, ask them why ICE is using Russian technology to extract our iPhones and Androids and all the other phones. So
fantastic. Okay. I will be on with Cliff Schechter and Joe Walsh at 6:00 tonight for their tequila show. They apparently drink tequila and talk smack about Trump. So I
don't blame them.
Yeah,
I need tequila.
I'm gonna have to go down to the liquor store and get a bottle of tequila. I don't know that I have any here, and I guess pour myself a few shots. Then I have to go to the Philharmonic tonight, so that's going to be quite a experience being drunk in tequila shots. But on that note, it was great to see everybody in the chat, both here and on Substack, both here on YouTube, I should say, the Media Network, and also on Substack. And Olga and I will see you all next Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern for another episode of Pox Americana. I know I screwed up the time today, but it is always 11 a.m. Eastern on Thursday. All right. Bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye. Bye.